On this episode of the podcast, I'm going to talk about hitting a hen, YouTube ads, and the films. Excited for that one. Could get spicy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Luke Who's Talking podcast. I hope you're doing well. My computer is being an absolute heap of shit. Yeah. So, is it going to go? Is it going to continue? Oh my God, it may work. Wow. It's been a long road to get here. This computer's gone. It's got to go. Anyway, let's get into the first story for you. So, the other day, I may have mentioned this already, but I have a goal this year to ride 1,000 kilometres on my bicycle, and I've already done about 150 or so. So I think I'm well on track to reach that goal. Anyway, the other day I went for a ride, a longer one. It was about 30 Ks, I think I did. Anyway, so I rode from my house over to one of the parks back home. There you go. And there was almost a collision. Yeah, almost a collision. So I was riding along where at this particular park. I had to go. How am I going to tell this? I don't know. I'm struggling. So there's a path I had to go on beside the river to get to this park. Why was that so hard for me to figure out and say? I don't know. Anyway, so I was going along this path. It's in like a bit of a wet plains reeves is, you know, sort of like not a flood area. It's like a swampy sort of area, and this path track, you know, wiggles through it. Anyway, so I was riding along and I was coming up on a right-hand corner, which then there was a bridge to go over. So I was going along and there was a heap of native hens, right, just near this right-hand corner. They were in between the right-hand corner and the bridge area. So I was like, okay, they'll move by the time I get there. They'll be gone. They won't be there anymore. So I got a bit closer. Hens are still there. I'm like, they'll move because, you know, these hens, native hens, or any wildlife really, they like to move at like the last possible minute, or the last possible, you know, point they can. I was getting a bit closer. Thought they'll move. Plot twist: they hadn't moved. I'm like, okay, got a bit closer. They'll move. Hadn't moved yet. And I was like, They'll move. And so I started to slow up to get to negotiate this corner and then figure out how I was going to get over this bridge. These hens are still there. Like, they'll move. So I get around the corner. Hens are still there. Like, they'll move. It's like, okay, they're not going to move. And then all of a sudden, they just scatter. They just go like, woo! It was like they just spread like a poo in a toilet. Like, you know, when you do a big one, it just goes... This is what these hens did. They were like, whoa, everywhere. And there was one that was sort of like on the edge of a path. It was on the left side of the path, just on the edge. Now, this hen could have gone left, out of the way. But, oh, no, he was like, I'm going to risk it for a biscuit. And he ran across the path in front of me, and I reckon I missed him by half a metre, maybe. I was like, hen's going to move. No, got closer, hen's going to move. No, got closer, hen's going to move. No, got closer, hen's going to move. Maybe not. Yes, hens move right at the last minute. And they've just gone whoop, everywhere. And, yeah, I reckon I missed one by maybe like a metre. Too close for comfort. That is for sure. Absolutely too close. I was like, just, mate, move. And then at the last minute, he was like, yeah, okay, I'll move. It was just, oh, okay. Jeez. Risk. I wouldn't have liked to have hit a bird on my bicycle, and I've got a road bike as well. So, well, actually, strictly speaking, it's a gravel bike. But, you know, narrow wheels, thing's got no suspension on it, so it would have been pretty rough. Would have been pretty rough, I reckon, clouting a bird. At least it wasn't a duck. Hey, ducky. Hey. Now YouTube, they're supposed to be smart, aren't they? And like give us tailored ads. Well, last Friday actually, I was at work. I was in the office. I was recording some stuff plot twist, everything you hear on the radio might not necessarily be live. Okay, just ponder on that. Anyway, but I was at work doing a bit of stuff, and I was on the work computer, logged into my work email, and I was there doing whatever, and I was on YouTube looking at something, and an ad came on. Not unusual, but what the ad was for, I was somewhat surprised with. Okay, now of course YouTube, they like to give you tailored ads. What you've been searching, what you've been Googling, blah, blah, blah. Maybe because I hadn't been at work for a while, on the work, in the work Google accounts and whatever else, searching up things whilst logged in, blah, blah, blah. Maybe Google was like, what does this person want? What can we sell them? And they might have been just like, yep, let's sell them this. Well, I got an ad for a pregnancy test on YouTube. And I was like, My initial thought was, who's been on this on this computer searching pregnancy tests? Honestly, I had like two thoughts who it might have been, but then I thought, they haven't been logged into my credentials, so I was then a bit like, Google, why have you done this? Why have you been like, hey, I know what Luke wants. He wants a pregnancy test. I'm not having spicy intercourse with anybody. So, I thought if it was like a condom, maybe I could handle that, but a pregnancy test? What are you getting at, Google? What are you getting at? What are you getting at, Google? What are you implying? I feel like I need to go into the ruse room, but I don't really have a ruse to get in on that. I don't really have one. So the ruse room is calling. I haven't gotten about the ruse room, but yeah. So Google, what are you implying? What do you want from me, Google? Do you want me to buy a pregnancy test? Because I'm not going to. Okay. Welcome back. You wouldn't know it, but it's actually the next day. There you go. There's a plot twist. Now, anyway, let's get into the films. So I think what I'm going to do, of course, I mentioned last episode, one before, I don't know. Anyway, I've got to go. I'm going to try and watch 100 movies this year. I think I'll achieve that reasonably easily. Anyway, so I've decided that because I do a podcast, so I do 2 podcasts a month about that. So like every second podcast, I'm just going to talk about the films that I've watched and give you a little bit of a brief, review of them, and also what's coming up next. So let's get into how many have I watched? I think I've watched 6. I'll get into them right now. Let me just get up my Letterboxd account, which you can follow if you want to. So the first film I watched, we started off with a comedy. Okay, no, we didn't, but we started off with 12 Years a Slave. Pretty heavy stuff. However, just a very good sort of solid movie. Very good. There was a few bits that I wasn't that thrilled with. First of all, spoilers, okay, I'm going to talk about some of these movies intimately. So at the start of 12 Years, there's a scene where they're cutting sugar cane, and the guy's like, yeah, this is how you do it, boy. And I'm like, okay. And then it goes back to like how Solomon, and then we sort of get into the story of how Solomon got to the sugar cane, like to cutting the sugar cane. But when that bit of the movie happens, it's very brief. So I'm like, okay. And then the next thing, hey, they're back at, Michael Fassbender's place. Also, something that I had a bit of a problem with is that there was not really any sense of time or years passing in the movie. Like there was no bits like, oh, this is like a Christmassy time of year, or Thanksgiving or whatever. There was no sort of events like that to give me any sense of time passing. We know he's been a slave for 12 years because that's what the movie's called. But for me, there was nothing in the movie to give me a sense of any time passing. And another example of that is when he is Michael Fassbender's slave, when Solomon goes and works for, Edwin Epps, he goes there. He goes and they go and do some work at the plantation, like next door or whatever. And when they get dropped off, the slaves get dropped off. Edwin's like, "Oh, you're going to be here for the season." And that, portion of the quote unquote season to me was like 3 days. There was no sense of how long that actually was. But anyway, 12 Years a Slave, 4 stars, worth a watch. The next movie I watched was Zodiac. Once again, loved it. Loved it. Yeah, it was pretty good. There was some. It is long, 2 hours or whatever. So there were some times in the movie where I was like, is it over yet? But mostly it was good. I also enjoyed Mark Ruffalo and Anthony Edwards, their characters doing like their investigation sort of montagey bit, because I'm like, I love a police procedural. And also in that, Mark Ruffalo swanning around with his trench coat on, he was like Columbo, and I was like, yes, I love Columbo. That said, when Jake Gyllenhaal then started doing the investigating and looking into this stuff, I was like, this guy's a bit crazy. It's odd, when the cops were doing the investigating, I was like, yep, love it. And then Jake Gyllenhaal does it, who is a newspaper cartoonist in this movie, and I was like, oh, okay, righto. Robert Downey Jr. is also in this. This would be, I guess, before he did Iron Man, and to me, he was pretty much Tony Stark in this film. He was pretty much, he was already Iron Man, just how he was. Anyway, 3.5 for Zodiac, good. Next one, 2001, A Space Odyssey. Once again, a long film. I was like, what is this about? It is a very, it starts off, well, it's a journey of like humanity, I guess, and evolution, really. But the bit I really enjoyed about the movie is when they're on the spaceship, and of course Hal is there, and now is Hal a movie villain? Is he a villain? Because he was pretty good. Even though he's a robot, I was like, Hal's great. Some of the filming and the shots in this film is really, really interesting and really cool. Like there's a bit where Dave is running. When we first get onto the ship and meet Hal and whatever, Dave is running around the ship, and it's like that shot is really cool. That following him, and it's sort of spinning around or whatever. I guess the set is like a donut, and he's running in it like a hamster wheel. I'm not sure. It'd be really interesting to see, to discover how that was filmed. But it's visually very, very appealing, and when you're looking at it, and you're like, all these sets, the spaceship and stuff, somebody's built all that, and it's really cool. Once again, Hal, really love him, and it's really interesting how when they say, are you sure, like there's an error or whatever with one of the probes or whatever on the outside the ship, so they go out and they test it, they get it in tested, and there's nothing wrong with it, and they're and they start questioning, is this okay, Hal, you're right, and then Hal's like, no, it's fine, and then Hal then gets paranoid a little bit, and escalation, happens, and Dave has to go and shut him down, which reminded me a bit of the episode of The Simpsons where they get the robot in the house, and who does the voice? Pierce Brosnan, I think, does the voice, and Homer's there, taking apart all his memory and stuff, and he's like, oh, don't get away by British charm, and he's down like a hick or something after that. But 2001: A Space Odyssey, 3 stars. I have seen it before. I have actually since thought, should have I rated this more? But I gave it a 3, solid. Once again, I think the first 3 films, most definitely watch them if you can. So the next 2, average in my opinion. We've got Zero Dark 30. Now, it is a 10-year journey of investigating and whatever, and then of course the mission or whatever to eliminate, whatever you want to say, Osama, Bin Laden. To me, everything that happened up to the point where they started investigating, they started looking at where Osama was hiding out, and then the mission to raid the place, everything up until there, I literally could have done without. I didn't really care that much for it, if I'm honest. There's like 10 years or whatever. Now, at least in this, there's timestamps, so you know how things are progressing. And also, like the SEAL team that went in, and and took out the mission, it's like they just they're in Area 51 and these guys are there and like, oh yeah, so you're going to do this for us. And like, okay. And then the next like half an hour or whatever of the movie is them going and things are happening in the mission. It's like, who are these people though that are doing this mission? I would like some more context as to who they are. Like they just turn up, do this, and the movie's over. Like, okay, there's not really any story or anything behind who these people are. It's like, okay. So Zero Dark 30, 2.5. This is where I'm getting into, should I have rated 2000 Modern Space Odyssey better, because that movie is half a star better than Zero Dark 30. That is for sure. So Zero Dark 30, take it or leave it with that one. The next movie, 21 Jump Street, absolute garbage. Unless you like jokes about male genitals, don't watch it. And there's like, I don't know, I've written here in my review, I don't know if this movie wants to be like American Pie or Lethal Weapon. And it's like a bad mashup of both of them. Yeah, jokes for me, not funny. I would have liked more Nick Offerman. And now why? Okay. So these two cops are awful. How they still police, I don't know. And then they get assigned they have to go to a high school and find out who's selling drugs at high school. Plot twist, it's the PE teacher. Anyway, when they go to, is it like a church or wherever? Then they go to their new head HQ, and the captain there is like a sassy black cop. Why? Okay, why do movies, a lot of police movies, you got like buddy cop movies, they have like a sassy police captain, of course, who's a black guy. Why? Just have... okay, why does it have to be a black guy, though? Like, a lot of the times, like, the sassiest police captain I could probably think of is Inspector Todd, I think his name is, from Beverly Hills Cop. I love him. That's a great character. But why is the captain, a lot of the times, has to be a black guy? I don't know. Anyway, just throwing that out there. But, yeah, not funny. There is a shootout, which is ridiculous. There is then a chase, a car chase. There's two car chases. The last one is not very good. I'd say, well, I mean, it's sort of okay, but it's average. Anyway, 21 Jump Street, 1.5 stars. Don't watch it. I did like Brie Larson because she's gorgeous. And I'm not saying that because she was an absolute stunner. Now, when was it? About Christmas time, she was on Jimmy Kimmel, and Twitter went wild over her. But Brie Larson, if you're out there, want to go on a date? Come on. Now, the last movie I watched it just the other day. Your Sister's Sister. Good indie film. I would say if you can get your hands on it, watch this movie. It's pretty much 3 characters, and 70-80% of the movie happens in like sort of like one room. Well, it happens in one house because Emily Blunt, once again, Emily Blunt, I know you've got a husband, but if you want to go on a date, come on, please, because she's beautiful. Anyway, Emily Blunt, I wish in this movie that I had a friend like her, actually, because her friend Jack is in a bit of a rut. So Emily Blunt's like, Jack, hey, how about you go to my dad's holiday house? So he goes there. Plot twist, Emily Blunt's sister is there. Things happen, whatever else. Okay, so it's a bit of a Emily Blunt. She's so forgiving as well. I mean, she's just, her character, Iris, is the best in this. I love her. Yeah, So Your Sister's Sister, 4 stars. I first watched this when I was at school doing film, and our teacher showed it to us, and it's just a good, solid indie film. It only has pretty much at the start of a movie. There is some other people there, but apart from that, it's just the 3 characters, and 70-80% of the film happens at Emily Blunt's holiday house. So you either see like the kitchen dining living area or a bedroom, and there's 3 bedrooms. 2 of them you see more than the third. And then there's some beautiful outside shots because Jack leaves. There's an incident. Jack leaves the house for a bit, so there is some sequences, of course, of him riding. He has a bicycle, so he's riding around the island and whatever else. But it looks really good. It is cheap, but it's not cheap bad. It's cheap good, and yeah, it's just a good solid movie. So if you can watch Your Sister's Sister, 100% do that. So just to recap, 12 Years a Slave, 4 stars. Watch it. Zodiac, 3.5, watch it. 2001: A Space Odyssey, 3, watch it. I feel I may have been a bit harsh. Zero Dark 30, 2.5, take it or leave it. 21 Jump Street, don't bother. Your Sister's Sister, 4 stars. If you can, watch it. 100% good movie. Wow, this podcast is really long. I'll be back to wrap things up. Well, that is it for this episode of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked it. This is going to be like the longest one ever. I've got a text from somebody. Go away, phone. Oh, that's who it's from. We're on Twitter, on the Facebooks. There's links in the description for the Facebooks, for the Twitters. You can send me an email, of course, lucastalkingpod@gmail.com. That's what it is, isn't it? Yeah. And there is a link, of course, down below to the Letterboxd, so you can have a geezer at those reviews that are very uneducated. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye.